Open the gate.
Great.
Here comes everybody.
Let the cows in.
Long time no see, Bill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, glad to be here.
Yeah.
Looks
What
like
did they call
the
it? 50 First Dates? Was that the title of that movie? That was a hoot.
make it 9, Chess.
Great. So welcome everybody. This is the public hearing on the second public hearing on the 2020 updated Town of Caroline Comprehensive Plan. And this is a momentous time. The planning board completed the update of the Town of Caroline's comprehensive plan this year and submitted it to the town board. It was introduced on November 12th, and so we're holding the public hearing tonight. And just to reinforce what a comprehensive plan is and does, a comprehensive plan is a visionary document for the town that captures the vision of the town upon which future actions future actions are based. So things that the town does must be consistent with the comprehensive plan. So I want to express my gratitude to the current and past planning board members that have worked so hard to complete this update of the comprehensive plan. So having, with that brief introduction, I'm now going to open the meeting for comments from the public on the comprehensive plan, and we will take comments tonight, and then with those comments, we will subsequently be scheduling a meeting considering those comments, and at some point we'll schedule a meeting to take a vote on the plan. So in our Zoom world again, if you wish to speak about the comprehensive plan to the town board, please raise your blue Zoom hand, and that will queue you up, and Councilman Frazier will let you in, and we will take your comments.
Ellen knew what to do, like out of the gate. First one in. So Ellen's up first.
Okay, great.
I'll let you see my face. There you go. I just wanted to say, I know it's been a huge effort and undertaking. I was on a committee that redid the comprehensive plan for the town of Ithaca quite a few years ago by now. And it's an arduous task, and I am very impressed by both the outcome of the report, which I think is very intelligent. Of course, I have comments and things I wish they included that they didn't, but it's a good document and provides a very good basis for moving forward with zoning in the town, as well as some of the changes the Land Use Task Force and Economic Development Task Force put forward. I also was very impressed by the efforts, and I think very successful efforts, to reach out to a broad public. Quite a while ago, I don't know how many years, Bill, a couple of years ago, I was part of an evening meeting or two in which the planning board put together, there were 4 or 5 of us sitting around discussing an issue or two. And we were not people of like mind necessarily. And I think it was very instructive for all of us who were sitting around trying to come up with some of the issues or recommendations. I think it was community building as well as learning for the planning board, but I think it was learning for all of us. So I just want to commend the group, thank them very much for all they did, and look forward to moving forward on the recommendations. Thanks.
Lizzie Everett is next.
Oh, I see some familiar faces here.
I feel like we've done this before, right?
Okay, well, as usual, I'm going to read something just because I don't think well on my feet. I want to stress that I have been a resident of Caroline for 45 years. And my husband and I raised our 2 children here, one of whom decided to deepen her roots in Caroline. And 9 years ago, she and her husband built a small house on our land where they're raising their 2 little girls. And my fervent hope is that my children and their children, as well as all young people, will be able to continue to live healthy lives in Caroline, founded on the beautifully sketched vision in the revised comprehensive plan. The work of some incredibly dedicated Caroline residents who did a thorough job of reflecting the consensus of views expressed by Caroline residents. And like Ellen, I am in awe of the amount of careful time that went into this whole process by an amazing group of people. And looking at the results of the final tweaking of the plan, I'm particularly pleased by a couple of things that have been added. One appears on page 4 regarding the necessity to preserve farmland for future generations. This issue, I think, has a profound connection with the effects of climate change. Although the plan doesn't mention it specifically, I think it's important to point out that regenerative agriculture has been deemed one of the most important means to sequester carbon. It's a key way to reduce greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, as a way to build healthy, productive soil to produce, in turn, higher yields of healthy food and ultimately provide greater profits for the farmers who practice it. So preserving the farmland in Caroline would be the foundation for future farmers to make the transition to regenerative farming for their financial benefit, for the good of the community, and ultimately the planet. I think we must do all that we can to help our local farmers continue to make a living. And basic to that is making sure that they have the land to farm. That's, couldn't be more basic. The second change that drew my attention is the climate vulnerability assessment. And I was very encouraged by the proposal on page 19 of the plan, suggesting the wisdom of coming up with a renewable energy siting law to take into account issues such as view sheds, habitat loss, adequate infrastructure, etc., in the siting of solar and wind farms. All conditions relevant to the inevitable consequences of the need for the Caroline residents to have access to renewable energy sources, with the ultimate goal to avert climate catastrophe. I think, as became evident at the meeting last night about the 180-day land use moratorium, it may be very tricky to balance these 2 aspirations. I would hope that both can be realized with careful planning on the part of the committees charged with working out how to make the 2 uses of our land, both farming and renewable energy sources, work in harmony with one another. And I will be very eager to see how that plays out. I think that's absolutely crucial to the future of Caroline. And thank you.
Thanks, Lizzie.
Thank you, Lizzie.
Mary Alice Kobler is next.
Hi, this is Mary Alice Kobler.
You
Sounds
got
like you have a bad cold.
change, Mary.
So I'm also pleased. This is Jonathan Comstock.
Oh, okay.
Nobody guessed that.
Who'd
did
have
they?
guessed?
I'm very pleased to give the final Town of Caroline Comprehensive Plan my full support. It works to carve out a middle position between overly defining specifics and yet being specific enough to provide meaningful guidelines. I think this is the right balance for a comprehensive plan in a town like Caroline. We owe a great debt of appreciation for the thoughtful and diligent efforts of the planning committee and task force members who have made it possible. The active input and engagement from the whole town of Caroline community is also impressive. One of the things that I appreciate most in the plan, apart from the fact that it's got a lot of specific meat to it, it's not just platitudes or vague goals, is that it has a strong sense of inclusivity, avoiding racism or bigotry against any groups, and also a constructive set of goals and values related to affordable housing, local economic opportunity, and the importance of the farming community within our midst. I think it's evident throughout the plan that it's developed to encompass all residents constructively and not force a set of arbitrary rules from any single viewpoint. So for the rest of my comments, I'm sort of following up on some of the things Lizzie just said, and some of the discussions that occurred at yesterday's meeting. So farming, I think, is important to the entire Caroline community. It affects environmental quality for all who live here, but only a small fraction of historic family farms are still active, and the ones that are often struggling. Profitability is a key constraint, but successful examples in the town include diversifying products and value-added products. I think that solar farms can be an essential piece in this puzzle. They can add a revenue stream that complements other farming activities and supports sustained economic viability. While prime farmland should continue to be farmed, it is important to recognize that solar farms do not require major excavation of the land, destruction of topsoil, or installation of irreversible paving. The land beneath the solar panels essentially remains an open pasture and can be grazed, as is already done by some of our Caroline farmers in the solar farms in Dryden. The land can be reclaimed for other uses if desired in the future, with fertility maintained or even improved by the permanent pasture. So I think there was a lot of agreement on all of that, actually. At last night's meeting, a few community members engaged in farming reported on current negotiations with the solar company to lease portions of their land to solar panels and continue farming the remaining land. These efforts and goals are in jeopardy due to the inability of the solar companies to engage in meaningful planning without clear rules in place. So in the ensuing discussion, it was pointed out that fast tracking any portion of the planning goals for the sake of a single specific project was not an acceptable mode of action. I agree with that entirely. The town cannot play favorites. However, I don't think that is the case we're talking about here. We could fast track the rule development relating to solar farms for the sake of our entire resident farming community. We can recognize the immediate potential this may provide for their relief, the strong emphasis in the whole comprehensive plan on maintaining green space and farming, and the also recognized importance of developing renewable energy sources. So I think a very sound justification for fast-tracking rules for solar farm location and implementation could be made on these broad principles and shared goals, and may be needed due to the time-sensitive nature of these community needs and the opportunities to fulfill them. This involves both the benefits to our farming community and to global ecological imperatives. As Lizzie said, avoiding climate catastrophe. So neither of these can afford to wait for multiple years for action. And I hope that a way can be found so that we can have the careful planning that we need for the whole community, but identify areas like this where we need to move more quickly. So that's it. Thank you.
Maybe we could call it ag.
Call it
or
what?
farming the we're farming the sun instead of a commercial development.
Exactly. Yeah, you're
You got
harvesting.
it.
You're harvesting.
Harvesting needs to happen now.
There you
Thanks,
go.
Jonathan.
Renee is up next.
Great.
I wasn't going to say anything, but I was inspired. Sorry, I've got some bright lights behind me. I just wanted to just react to a couple things. First of all, Lizzie's comment about instilling young families to come and potentially take up roots in Caroline, I think is a really important consideration that we really need to think about. We've talked a lot about family farming. Didn't really talk, I don't think all that much, especially last night, about encouraging young families, any family, to move, or for that matter, any group of people to move to Caroline to take up roots. And I just wanted to say that I was walking down on Deer Run and Pheasant Run, Deer Road and Pheasant Run, which is a cul-de-sac off from 79 across the street from where I live. And I recall that when I first moved in, I was quite furious that the whole development had taken place, because it actually, I felt, had infringed upon the vista, you know, that I had envisioned for us to actually look at for many years in the future. And instead, there was a development created by the Sarsfield family. And it was at the time when there was no, no regulation or anything, and anyone could just put a road in and put houses up, which is basically what happened. It's so strange now that I go through there, and I was thinking of it particularly because Cal mentioned last night Boiseville, the Boiseville structures, which he felt were a success. I totally disagree with him, but I will say that I think to compare, say, Boiseville development with perhaps the development that actually has ended up in the Deer Run area are two really good examples. And now that I look at Deer Run, my whole concept has changed, because that particular area is so well thought out. There are large spaces of land. People are developing gardens. People are developing wild habitat. Children are playing, and it's actually a really wonderful model if anybody wants to run down there and just kind of take a little drive down and around, of what we could do in the town for some of this land that we might want to designate as that for developing housing, right? And so I just wanted to keep an open mind about that whole notion of planned housing and clusters of homes. I've heard that. I've heard of several people speak about that, and I just wanted to give that example. The other thing I just want to say is that the solar farming for me is, I'm questioning, not because I'm an adamant supporter of anything that might combat climate control, but my question, and this is an educational piece that I hope that you guys will research, which is, what is the longevity today in 2020 of these power structures that are being put up, I believe the models were actually created how many years ago? And I guess my question is, because we have a new administration coming up, and because there are going to be huge innovations, what will these particular power sources look like in 3 years or 5 years or 10 years? And so I'm hoping that you'll be very forward thinking and not rush into anything in regards to any kind of solar planning. And the third thing I just want to say also revolves around the whole notion of education. What I've noticed, I've heard people in the planning and also in the task force say that they learned a lot. They have learned a lot. And I think this whole notion of education is great for those of us who have listened to a lot of the meetings that have taken place over the last 6 months or so. But there are so many in our community that have no idea what's going on. And so I would encourage all of you to really think about a good way to educate our community, particularly when it comes time to talking about zoning, because I think people are very quick to assume that they know what zoning is or what it might be. And I thought it was interesting that Cal made mention last night of very specific instances of what he thought zoning was. And I heard another council person counter that with something else. So I just think we each have our own little notion of what that might be. And so I think, you know, I am an educator and, you know, maybe I think that's the answer to everything. But some way to communicate to our residents what it is you're doing, why you're doing it, and how this is within their power, right, to consider and to really just consider in general. So that's, I'll leave it at that. So thanks so much for listening.
Thanks, Renee.
That's the last person with their hand up. So there might be
Okay,
others.
let's take a pause and see if more blue hands appear. They often do if you just wait and do some incantations.
You want to also just remind people, Mark, of how to raise their hand?
Yeah, I mean, if you go into the participants panel down at the bottom, there should be a button for raising your hand. If you're, and if your video's on, you can just raise your real hand and we'll let you in. Emily Adams has her hand up. Yeah, Emily.
It's Emily's turn.
I don't know quite if there's a point to this, but I would not like to miss an opportunity to weigh in favor of this whole thing, as I did last night, and as I did in a little email I sent to the clerk. I think it's great. I think it's wonderful, all the work that people have put in. I know it must have taken amazing amounts of hours. And I like the vision overall that came out, and I do hope that we can find ways to also support solar farming, but I know that's also kind of complicated and might need its own long study. So I trust you guys to do a good job, and I'm here behind you.
Great. Thank you, Emily.
And the blue Zoom hands are gone again.
But there is a phone number, and phone numbers often have trouble expressing their desire to speak. I don't know.
It's Don.
Okay.
You want to just unmute him and see if
Yeah.
if he wants to speak?
Can you unmute Don? John?
I can ask him to unmute. I cannot actually unmute
Oh,
him
okay.
myself.
You
Okay.
can't unmute a phone?
Great.
Nope.
Oh, okay, there he
He's
is. All
unmuted now.
right.
Hello,
Hi,
everyone.
Don. We all know your phone number, so we are unmuting you to see if you wanted to speak.
I'll be happy to. My internet is less than dependable, so phone is the way I join, and I'm glad you memorized my number now. I'm just want to also urge the town board to adopt this comprehensive plan that's been put forward by the planning board for two reasons. One is that the process that was used was a 6-year process, but it was very inclusive of the community. And I think by the type of comments you're getting tonight shows that they were able to capture the vision that the community has for itself going forward. And it's a little bit aggressive in some of the things they suggest, but that's what we need, and it provides the town with a map of and a vision for how it might carry out this vision going forward. So I just want to say that I was really impressed by the document. I support it, and I urge the town board to adopt that plan. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Don.
I believe I see Mary Alice looking like she's ready to speak. So she's next.
She found her hand.
That's
Okay.
right.
Or it could be Jonathan again.
Who's to say?
The voice will say. The voice will clue us in.
It's me, Mary Alice. Can you hear me? Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to weigh in here and give all thanks to everybody involved and how much I support the comprehensive plan. I I've been a longtime member of Energy Independent Caroline, involved in the first studies of wind power here and how to interconnect our renewable energies. And I can't stress enough how we can't wait for years to put renewable energy in. We don't have 5 years to get on the grid and figure this out. It is the one piece of the comprehensive plan in the energy section that I just think cannot wait. Our farmers can't wait. Our climate, nothing can wait here. And we can't wait for 5 years to get zoning. We need to move ahead on that aspect of it. And I've been lobbying very hard since yesterday's moratorium meeting to suggest that my husband sign up for the renewable committee, because he has so much to offer.
Is there such a committee even? Is there a committee that's actually focused on, or task group?
Site plan.
Yeah.
Now,
Anyway, I don't expect you to answer, but I heard Tony Tavelli, and I did not know of the current solar array that was trying to be built, but I do know of Tony's years of trying to make his viability, his farm viability work. And I want this solar farm to go in. He's got neighbors that want to be involved. And this needs to be right up there on the most important things that we can do. Our farmers can't wait. Our climate can't wait. We don't have 5 years to figure this out. Please move this piece forward. Along with all the other comprehensive plan stuff, energy is key. Thanks.
Thanks, Mary Alice. I don't know what you're asking, but I think maybe you're asking if the planning board is right now working on a solar siting law. So you're welcome to join that conversation, of course. So.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Well,
And John Reed is up next.
Thank you.
Hello, I submitted my comments in writing, but I just want to second what everyone has said, that I really like the plan. I read the whole thing and I love the inclusive language that was added. And I just want to really compliment the planning board on a wonderful job. I attended all the meetings, the in-person meetings back when we didn't have to wear a mask, and they were well run. Collected data from everyone in the town who wanted to speak. I love the methodology and the brainstorming. I think it's a wonderful effort and a fabulous result. And I urge the board to adopt it and to follow it, and take the goals and actions that were summarized at the end to help protect our rural character in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, John. I'll also say, John just chatted me to say with a technology update that's very helpful. So people on a phone can unmute and mute by pressing *6, and they can raise and lower their blue hand by pressing *9. So thank you, John.
That's everyone so far, Mark.
Okay, great. Just a bit of a hesitation here to see if anyone else wishes to speak. Well, I will thank you, everybody, for your thoughtful and heartfelt comments. And I can tell you that I and the rest of the town board reiterate that our appreciation and to the planning board for the extremely diligent and hard work that they've done to truly capture community sentiment. So thank you so much. So with that,
Can I just add, there's something just incredible. They did a many years long marathon followed by this incredible burst of a sprint that actually was longer than any real sprint. And now we're just turning around and doing a marathon again. I mean, with hardly a chance to get a drink of water in between. It's the dedication and commitment, and honestly, the care and love that people have for this community is it's just phenomenal. And it's, you know, I think that the planning board did a really terrific job of taking the heartfelt sentiments and care that people have for this community and turning it into something that we can operationalize. And you know, hats off. Really job well done.
Yep. So I would like to conclude the public hearing now, and would propose that we now have a board discussion about our next steps and our thoughts from what we've heard tonight. So
Thank you very much, everybody, for participating.
Yeah. And I hope you'll stay on to listen to the discussion. So. Okay, so I certainly heard a lot of broad support that very much matched my my reading of the comprehensive plan. I think it's an amazing document, and I know that we did get a reply today from the county, the 239 review. They had some small but significant, I thought, I haven't looked at them carefully, but they looked like some suggestions that we should consider. So I would like to look at that and possibly make those changes. But I do not see a need for significant change, and I think I would be ready to move forward to approve this comprehensive plan immediately. So
I don't
I
understand.
agree with you, Mark. I think it's considered plan and we should do that tonight.
I'm confused. I don't understand how you are planning to make changes to it and move ahead with it
sorry.
tonight.
Let me clarify. I meant as soon as possible, not tonight.
Okay.
So I think sorry, that was not clear. So I just meant I don't see a need for a lot of overhaul of it at all. But there are some small tweaks that I would like to consider from the County 239 review, and that we would bring this forward
So
to
you'd
vote
have,
for.
you'd have to make those language, even though they seem just defining and clarifying, and before we'd vote. I mean,
I think we want to have that in place before we took an official vote.
okay.
So that would be we could schedule a special meeting, or we could do it at our end of year meeting. Either one. Other thoughts, Irene?
Yeah, I overall, I think it's fabulous. And, you know, I think I, out of turn, expressed my incredible appreciation for all the work and clarity of what's been articulated in it. I did submit my own comments to the planning committee about you know, the ideas in the draft plan. And I was particularly curious because it doesn't appear to me that the emergency services section, which had been page 11 and let me just pull up the document here and see what page it is in this new draft. Page now 19. Emergency services and accessible local health care. I certainly support, and I'm glad for the addition that you made about having local health care through mobile services, or honestly, whatever way we can get it here would be terrific. But I was disappointed that my other comments, which I thought actually were pretty specific and intended as a correction because of some inaccuracies and some goals that I think the town knows that we want to work towards with emergency services. And so, you know, I'm not here to say that you must add these things. You know, they were my thoughts, as you know, but I'd like to at least understand why they weren't included. One thing that is significantly missing in my part is that the town is served by actually, you know, the easiest way to describe it is 3 volunteer fire departments, one in Brooktondale, one in Slaterville, and one in Speedsville. And so, you know, at a minimum, I think that we should include that there are, you know, volunteers out in Speedsville who serve the town. And in addition, I thought the detail of that we have 2 fire districts and 1 fire protection district is an important element to include. And that, you know, I understand, you know, the ideas about having volunteer responders and, you know, the ways that it's described in this current draft, but it's a little bit out of step with the work that had been done with our emergency services task force that I chaired for, I don't know, at least a year or more through TCOG, where one of the conclusions was that the county would assist in trying to continue to recruit for volunteers, but it's become very difficult to have volunteers, and that instead a goal that that we think that, you know, or that I put forward that we should be embracing is the language that I put in my suggested comments is goal that the town should pursue options to provide consistent, timely, affordable, professional EMS response for all Caroline residents. And, you know, if we can do it through volunteers, great. But I think honestly that we also need to be exploring other options. And so I, you know, again, these were comments that I offered. They were informed by other work that I've done. And I just wondered what happened that some of these suggestions weren't included. Or if the planning committee would be willing to reconsider and include them.
Are we supposed to be responding to these, Bill, or?
I don't know. I was sort of raising my finger to see if that was desired by the board.
Please.
All right.
Sure, that'd be great, Bill. Thank you.
Okay. So I guess I will apologize. I mean, we got those comments, and actually in a board discussion, planning board discussion, agreed to incorporate particularly the corrections and the update of what was happening with emergency services. And then I will have to apologize that I guess I did not catch those, didn't go in. That was supposed to happen. The details of, you know, the number of companies, et cetera. We agreed to incorporate those, that update. And you know, it must have slipped through the cracks. I didn't notice it didn't get done. So I'll just say sorry. And at this point, you know, modifications can be made. I've given the town clerk the Word file. So I think things like that can certainly be added. And whether you want to kick it back down to us or not, but that's fine. And I think in terms of the goal you mentioned, I thought some words were added, actually. It may have only been a small phrase rather than that separate goal, but I thought we did add something to that effect about needing to move to professional services. But again, if not, it fell through the cracks, and I don't know if Catherine has anything she wants to add.
No, I was just going to say in terms of process, if you all have the document and, you know, want to add language, but I guess whatever the process is there, I would defer to the board to do that.
Yeah, if there had been discussion and some reason why it wasn't included, I was curious as to what that was, but I'm relieved actually to know that it was an oops, and we can certainly work to rewrite the text. But if, if there had been objection from the planning board to changing it, I wanted to know what the concerns were. So thanks.
Great. Yeah, thanks, Catherine and Bill. And also, I wanted to say, if the way I feel is if we make any corrections, I sort of feel a necessity to run that by you, the planning board, because you've done the deep thought on it. So, and that would include these 239 edits. So, if
But
you're
I hope
willing.
that, Mark, I hope that if we do that, we can do it perhaps, Bill, by email. So we don't have
Certainly.
to wait for the next planning board meeting.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I'd also like to just add in terms of the extensive process that the planning board went into responding to the last public hearing about the comprehensive plan. The planning board received, I think it was over 20 voluminous written comments on the plan. And just so everybody understands, they did yeoman service in going through and discussing together almost literally every single line of all of those comments. So they really, really took those public comments exceptionally seriously.
I was in danger of being lynched by the committee, but yes, that's what we did.
Thank you so much. So
I recommend that we ask Irene to include that language, and then we can just float the revision and plus the revision for
Yeah,
the county to Bill and for approval.
Yeah, I'll forward it and so to Jesse or to whom? Who should I be forwarding it to? You said that Jesse has the Word document, so.
Yep. I guess my suggestion would be to pass it to Jesse. If Jesse could do any changes with track changes on, just so it's easy for me to find them.
Okay.
And, that would be great. It's more just to make sure that there isn't something that inadvertently creeps in as an error. I mean, I don't think it's likely, but just be.
Yeah.
That sounds fine.
Jesse, does that work for you?
Works for me.
Okay, I will do it.
Great, thank you. So does anybody else have anything to add or comment about the plan? Any other the board members?
It's okay. I mean, if you like, really hard, well thought out, intelligent, reflective documents, it's okay. Great job, is what I want to say. Seriously, all joking aside, it is indeed intelligent, well thought out, addresses lots of areas that I think we know we need to address, and I think puts some more tangible elements to help us achieve it. I think the plan from, I think it was 06, has wonderful elements, lots of vision, great vision. This feels like an iteration that will allow us to actually accomplish some of these things, right? And it builds certainly on the work that was done before it, and I want to honor that as well. Great job. I can wholeheartedly support this document. So thank you.
I'd like to add that this was mentioned a couple of times in the public comments, both here and the last time, but I'd like to commend the planning board for paying particular attention to adding language regarding diversity and social justice and economic justice to the comprehensive plan. And I think that these are areas that are going to be extremely helpful to the town board in both encouraging us and assisting us to work with the community to develop strategic projects to address these important inclusive areas. So that, I think that that's an extremely important addition to this comprehensive plan that so reflects the values of our town.
Thanks, Tim. I agree. So as far as process, Irene has some comments that she will integrate into the document, and I will integrate the 239 comments and run those by the board and integrate them. And so I don't think we can fairly swiftly make these few revisions. And then I would recommend that we go ahead and call a vote. Do we want to wait till the end of your meeting to do that, or do we want to do that sooner than that?
Mark, procedurally, if we make changes to it, we need to circulate it to the public again. And,
Okay.
we could have a public comment. Honestly, we could ask for just written comments. I don't know that it needs to be a Zoom, or we could, Zoom it at our end of year meeting.
Irene,
Yeah,
just
it
to
will.
clarify, that needs to happen for any change, or is it a certain substantive change?
Well, it's substantive changes. So,
I don't
changing a
think we're
few.
talking, I don't think we're talking about substance changes.
Yeah, I
mean,
don't either.
Well,
I mean, we certainly will make
I'll
Fit the document.
review the language of the goals that we had for emergency services, but I don't recall seeing something that reflected the ideas that I had. And if they're in there, then I'm fine with it. But if not, if I'm going to be adding a goal about the emergency services, then I think that we would need to recirculate it.
That even if that's one, I guess I'd be curious about how we're operationalizing the term substantive. If it's one goal in one section over the broad, spectrum of this plan, I would strongly advocate for that not being considered substantive and moving forward.
I mean, I think we'd want to check with Guy about that to see,
Yeah.
What is a substantive change? And if it is, we can certainly, we'll make the document public no matter what. But then we could go through the formality at our end of year meeting or sooner to have that be another opportunity for public input. Does that make sense? I
Yes.
see a lot of quiet.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Okay. I think we have a plan. I think we have a product. I think this is a celebratory moment. So once again, thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts, everybody.
Yeah.
It's been a long haul and a great product. So with that, so we will plan to finalize this at our December 28th meeting. Is that good?
Yes.
Great. Thank you. So that will be the plan. We've scheduled that for people listening for 9 a.m. and we'll be noticing that meeting. So great. So with that, I'll adjourn the public hearing, the second public hearing on the updated 2020 Town of Caroline Comprehensive Plan, and wish everybody a good evening and thank you so much. So, all right.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Thank
Good
you.
night.
Happy holidays too.
Yeah.
And to you too.